My name is Michael. I'm going to second grade.
My name is Alicia.
My name is Annie.
My name is Amy.
My name is Dora. I'm 11 years old.
My name is Derek. I am 12 years old. I like to read, code, and play Minecraft. My favorite subject is iTrack, a subject that only my school has. In iTrack, we code and build things. Like one time, we made a soda dispenser out of cardboard. My favorite sport is tennis. Today, I will be presenting about the space race. I became more interested in space after I visited the Kennedy Space Center in Florida. The space race. The space race was part of the Cold War. The Cold War was a war between the US and the Soviet Union with no battles. The Cold War started in around 1950, sometime after World War II. Why the Cold War? Well, the Soviet Union was the leader of the communist system. The US was the leader of the capitalist system. They competed to prove which political system was better. How the space race started. After World War II, the Soviet Union also developed nuclear bombs. The two superpowers wanted a way to send their nuclear weapons quickly, so they thought of sending the bombs from space. Milestones. On October 4th, 1957, the Soviet Union launched the first satellite into space, Sputnik 1. America followed by sending Explorer 1 into space on January 31st, 1958, the first human in space. After that, the two nations started to train their astronauts. The US had an astronaut team called the Mercury 7. They were the first American astronauts. But on April 12, 1961, Soviet cosmonaut Yuri Gagarin entered space. American astronaut Alan Shepard entered space on May 5, 1961. Soviet victories. The Soviets had then beaten the US by making Alexei Leonov the first man to perform a spacewalk, and then by making Valentina Tereshkova the first woman in space. So who do you think is going to win the space race?
American.
I think the same.
Moon speech. After a series of defeats in the space race, US President John F. Kennedy makes a speech in which he tells America they will go to the moon before 1970, Gemini. In order to get to the moon, the US launched Project Gemini, which was a series of flights to test out things that were needed to get to the moon, such as docking with another spaceship in space, the first American spacewalk. In 1965, Edward White made the first American spacewalk during Project Gemini. Do you think the US will get to the moon?
Yes.
Apollo 1. The US started Project Apollo. These would be the flights to get humans to the moon. The first mission, Apollo 1, was supposed to test the Apollo capsule, but failed because of a fire that killed the 3 crew members on January 27, 1967. Saturn V. After the nasty Apollo 1 fire, the US designed a new rocket, the Saturn V. It was the most powerful rocket ever, until Elon Musk came along. This was the rocket that would hopefully take humans to the moon, Apollo 8. Even though they had some successful space flights after Apollo 1, they still needed a victory in the space race. On December 21st, 1968, Apollo 8 was launched and was the first manned spacecraft to orbit the moon, Apollo 11. Now that the US had its first victory, it still needed to make it so they could get to the moon. Sitting atop their Saturn V rocket, the crew of Apollo 11 launched into space on July 20th, 1969, moon landing. After Buzz Aldrin and Neil Armstrong landed on the moon, Armstrong stepped down. He said, "One small step for a man, one giant leap for mankind." Apollo 12 through 17. After the Apollo 11 moon landing, the US sent more moon landing missions between 1969 through 1975. They were all successful except Apollo 13, An explosion in the oxygen tank crippled the spacecraft. Although it didn't land, the astronauts returned safely in a successful failure. Now who do you think will win the space race?
I think America will.
The ending. The Americans had beat the Soviets, and after multiple failed moon landings by the Soviets, the space race came to an end. Then in early 1991, the Soviet Union was disbanded. So yeah, America won.
Thank you, Teacher Tanya. Thank you, Derek, for the presenting slides. And now we are going to go over vocabulary flashcards. And now I'm going to hand it over to Tanya, and Teacher Tanya will help us with our vocabulary.
Thank you to Miana, our host, and Derek, our presenter. So we're going to go over some vocabulary that Derek taught us about in his space race presentation. I will read the word, give the definition, and then friends can raise hands and I will call on you to make sentences with these words. Okay, Derek, let's see what our first word is. Mission. A mission is something that you try to accomplish, you set out to do. Does anyone have an idea of a sentence for mission?
Kenny and Kathleen gave Jack and Annie a mission.
Yes, I remember that from our book. Thank you. Satellite. A satellite is an unmanned object that travels into space. So there are no humans on board.
A satellite can go to space all alone.
Astronaut. Astronaut is somebody who travels into space. They have studied all about the solar system. Yes, Alicia?
I would not want to be an astronaut because in space you have to eat like really horrible food and it doesn't taste good.
A person can go to the moon, but if you want to go to the moon, you have to wear a white suit.
Neil Armstrong was an astronaut.
And the American was the second astronaut that went to the moon.
My cousin wants to be an astronaut in the future because he very, very likes the space.
Space flights. Those are things that fly into outer space.
A rocket can fly up to space flights, a rocket ship. The most distant satellite from Earth is Voyager 1 and Voyager 2. They've been traveling for more than 40 years.
The United States made a series of space flights called like the Gemini, I think it was called, to like get a spacecraft to the moon.
Space flights can sometimes be dangerous.
Spaceship. A spaceship is a spacecraft that is controlled by a crew. Sometimes it's a robotic crew, sometimes it's a human crew.
There's an International Space Station orbiting the Earth that's in outer space, and it went there to bring food and other supplies to the crew on board.
The Dragon crew is space.
Victory. Victory is if you have success.
The U.S. achieved victory in the space race.
Launch. To put into orbit.
Spaceships launch on space.
Orbit. Orbit is to circle around. I know when Alicia presented, we learned a lot about things that orbit.
Planets orbit around the sun.
I think one of the spaceships that launched this year in 2020 orbited the Earth. I think for like 3 times.
Teacher Tanya,
Yes.
I also read that some planets do not orbit suns. They're called rogue planets, and suns orbit galaxies. But some suns don't because they're called rogue systems. solar systems because they don't have a galaxy of their own. They got knocked out.
Okay, thank you, Annabelle, for telling us about that. Let's see what our next word is. Failed. If something failed, it did not go how it was supposed to go. It failed.
If you fail, you have to try again and keep on going, because if you just give up, you can't do anything good.
That is very good advice, Alicia.
If you want to succeed, you should try your best, but if you fail, just like Alicia said, you shouldn't give up, because if you give up, you wouldn't be able to succeed.
I had read this passage for several times, but I still failed to understand it.
The Apollo 1 failed.
Landing. A landing in the space race talk is when something lands on the surface.
Soviet Union had many failed moon landings.
When I was watching chess video, it said that why does cat always land on their feet?
The feather can land on the ground.
Many astronauts in spaceships succeed landing on any planet or the moon, because if they want to succeed, when they succeed, that means they wanted to do it. But some failed.
In a cartoon, there was a very special car. It can land everywhere.
So friends, that was our last vocabulary word. Miana's going to tell us what's next.
Thank you, Teacher Tanya, and thank you, Derek, for the presentation. Now we are going to do Kahoot, which is game time. Before we do the Kahoot, do you guys want to do some 2 questions? And the 2 questions are, would you rather build rocket or travel to space in a rocket? What would your favorite thing be about astronauts?
So friends, would you rather build rockets or travel to space in a rocket?
I would rather build a rocket because if I fly in a rocket, it might be dangerous.
I would rather build a rocket because I read a book. I saw that you have to stand upside down to take a shower after you go from space.
What do you think, Charlotte?
I would rather to go to space.
Okay.
Because I want to feel how the gravity feels like.
That would be pretty cool. What would your favorite thing be about being an astronaut? Oh, and William said, my favorite thing about being an astronaut would be that I am weightless. Now, Miana's gonna take it away for Kahoot.
So now it's Kahoot time. Thank you for coming to Global AirLearning. Next time's presentation is by college. So it's the French Revolution, and don't forget it's by college.
Yes, and friends, if you have any topic that you're interested in or a topic that you want to do some research to learn about that you could present, you can do slides, you can do drawings, anything that you're interested in, please let us know because you could be a presenter. Okay, we hope to see you next Saturday, everybody.
Bye.